Good afternoon, Rich Nass with Open Systems Media here for this week's installment of 5 Minutes With. This week, I have the pleasure of speaking to David Kleidermacher, who is the Chief Technology Officer at Blackberry. Good afternoon, but I guess in your case, good morning, Dave.
Hey, Rich. Thanks for having me back again. And just a quick correction, I'm the Chief Security Officer, but thanks anyway.
My mistake. I apologize. And that brings up a good point because we want to talk about security here. There's been a bunch of hacks just like in the last couple weeks. There was one where somebody got in through some consumer cameras and things like that. What is going on? Is there an end to this? What do we need to do to finally put a stop to this, or is that a pipe dream?
Well, I think we can all agree that things are not going in the right direction. And I think if there's anything really good we can take away from that camera attack that you're referring to, which took down huge chunks of the internet, is that people are more aware of the challenge. And what we have going on here with the Internet of Things growing and being used in more different ways, in some cases some very life-critical ways, is this sort of realization that the higher levels of high-quality security that we have come to expect in some of the more critical systems like airplanes and in our IT systems, that these consumer electronics devices and other sort of IoT things simply don't have that kind of rigor in security, and we obviously need to do something about that. I think there's a few key things that we're not doing well at all that we really need to make headway on immediately.
All right, give me an example or two of those.
Well, so usually when we talk about how do you build better security into these things, we often go right to, okay, well, maybe it needs better encryption or authentication, and we talk about technology. But I think the actual, and those are important, don't get me wrong, but I think the first and foremost, the biggest gap we have right now, and the reason why so many of us lack confidence in these connected devices is we have no way of understanding how secure they are at all. Like, we just have no way of measuring that. And so the first thing we need to do is have good assurance programs where you and I, if we're out there going out and purchasing a camera or a network device or what have you, or a medical device, that we can have more confidence in the security of that device by simply looking to see, was it evaluated by an independent party, an independent expert, to see what kind of security it has. And that's one of the things I've been, as you know, Rich, I've been working on for a long time, and more recently put forth some new standards like DTSec for creating these assurance programs. I think that's the first. We can't hope to raise the cybersecurity bar technology-wise if we don't first know how to measure its height.
But are we often talking about people who, I hate to say it, but they don't care? If there's not a loss of life or if there's not a loss of a lot of revenue, are there too many people who simply don't care?
Yeah, that's a big problem. In fact, it's not just consumers who might not care as much as you might expect them to. It's actually the manufacturers of the devices that aren't really incentivized to add better security to them. And there are very few places in the technology world today where there's the proper incentive to get the right behavior. You see in certain government areas where there's high security certification requirements, but by and large, it doesn't exist. And so it's actually a really good point, Rich. One of the biggest challenges we have is how do you put in place the right incentives to get the right behavior. DTSec is a great example because we have this medical standard. You'd think that, hey, every single medical device manufacturer that's building something that's controlling your life, like an insulin pump or an infusion pump in a hospital, or a cardiac implantable, or the list goes on and on, radiography machines, that you'd think that they all want to or see the value of going through this sort of independent certification process. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. That they might be doing a good job internally, but they don't necessarily see the benefits to gaining this independent level of confidence. So how do you get the right behavior? Well, one way is you have, obviously, government can mandate things. That's one way. Another way is we can have cyber insurance. I think cybersecurity insurance is and generally the insurance industry is a really important emerging way where we can have insurance companies offer better rates and financial incentives to companies that can demonstrate better security. I'm actually really hopeful that that's going to be an avenue for improving the story here.
Wow, that's an interesting one, and I hadn't really thought of that. I mean, is that even possible? I mean, there's so many variables involved. Where would you even begin? And is something like that in the works?
Well, yes. I mean, so this is actually an ongoing conversation. So what's going on right now is a lot of the insurance companies, and even those that offer today cyber insurance, don't have necessarily the right tools to go out and evaluate and measure this kind of the security risk that they need to be able to do. And so programs like DTSec give them those tools. And I'm not saying DTSec is the answer for every kind of product or technology you'd want to evaluate, but programs like that where you can find a relatively economically, lightweight approach that still gives you a lot more confidence and have like sort of a standardized way, a standardized rating system, if you will. I think that's very practical, and I think that will make a big difference.
Okay, well, let's hope so. We're almost out of time. Actually, we are out of time, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention something, and I know you're a very humble guy, and you don't even like to talk about this, but you recently received an award from DTSec. If I remember correctly, it's the Leadership Award, and I wanted to congratulate you on that.
Thanks, Rich. I appreciate that. It's, the people that work in the diabetes area there's so many great technologists who are doing things like the artificial pancreas and just working every single day on improving the lives of diabetic patients. And for me to get an award like that is obviously what I'm doing with DTSec and security is important, but it's dwarfed by these other fantastic technologies that are making lives better. But I think it does show that cybersecurity is rising in its importance and the understanding that people have in the world that we have to do better. Very good. Well, congratulations. That was David Kleidermacher. He is the Chief Security Officer at Blackberry, and I'm Rich Nass with Open Systems Media. Thanks, Dave. Have a great day. Thanks very much, Rich. You too.